warm Mick up my ass, Mr. Colin Thompson. I was on here at 10:39. No, I'm sorry, 9:39. For once, I'm here early, and I'm sitting here waiting for you guys. No. For once. Yeah, look, I'm sitting here playing with my balls, honestly. They're medicine ball people.
This guy. The kids come from a guy, folks, who won't post a social media clip about an Eagles player because he's scared it's going to jinx him.
No. I just don't want to talk about injuries, right? Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm wrong, man. I'm wrong. This team is, we'll get into the Eagles, but listen, let's kick it off right. Everybody, hold on to your seats. Welcome back. Look, it's another like wash, rinse, and repeat type of scenario. Mike Gill, Mike, how long has it been? You joined us, 7 weeks ago?
I don't know, man.
Have you had anything negative to talk about since you have joined this show?
No, man, it's a great time. It's a great time to be a Philly sports fan. Penn State loss, awesome.
Taking jabs early. Are you kidding me?
I used to be with you, Mike. Pat Kraft, my buddy, that he's the AD there now, but I used to be like, yes. But it's hard for me now. I'm 50-50. 50-50.
I love somebody said Penn State. It's just Iowa.
Ooh.
It's good. There's going to be, I didn't have any intention to talk about Penn State right out of the gate here, but there's going to be a lot of feud with respect to, James Franklin winning the big game. Honestly, they can't get over that Ohio State hump, that Michigan hump.
Nobody else at Penn State has caught on to what everybody's been talking about for years. But he's a good recruiter. That's hard to do, to get great talent, but not be the guy who can get that talent. It's a hard dynamic, like you're going to see this with, like Colorado. They're getting all these top flight guys, but how good of a coach is Sanders going to be? I think that's going to be interesting to find out. So if you got great talent, are you also able to make that talent winners? We'll see.
That's a great point.
There's a whole other Colin Thompson. I know we're going off, but I saw a comment this week that just grinded my gears about college football. We don't have to get into college football, but
go ahead, Mike.
Did you see Emmanuel Acho's quote tweet?
I play with Acho.
All right.
I'll believe it at that.
Okay. Well, I mean, you might be on a different side of this because you played college ball. This whole Caleb Williams, they lost. Oh, he should sit out the rest of the season. There's nothing to gain. At what point are you starting to say this is a joke? Your team's not eligible to win a national championship, and you should sit out because you might get hurt and there's too much money at stake here? Like, what kind of message are we preaching here? Like, being a loser's okay? Like, that's cool? Like, what is going on here?
Okay, so I'm going to look this up. Okay, so he said, quote, with national championship hopes gone, Caleb Williams should consider sitting out the rest of the season. Well, this is just ridiculous. First off.
Okay.
I'll be clear. On the bowl game stuff, I agree with guys sitting out. If you're going to be a top 3 round pick and you're in some 7 and you won 7 games and you're in some bowl, I don't want to disrespect any of them, and you're not competing for a Final Four spot, or maybe I don't know. If you're not in the playoffs, I'm sitting out.
Listen, that's one game, and it's like hey, whatever.
It's a cash grab for the school. It's for recruiting. Half the coaches are interviewing for other jobs. But I completely disagree with Acho. I'll be crystal clear. Sitting out for the end of the season. This sounds like a clickbait comment. This is ridiculous.
At what point, you are supposed – first off, the guy has said he makes more money at USC than he will as the number 1 pick. And then he says he only wants to get drafted by certain teams. Who are you? You can't even beat freaking Utah. You're good enough to say that? Listen, I get it. It's not all the quarterback's fault, but guess what? You're the face of that team, and you can't beat Utah. You have no right to say, I only want to get drafted by X, Y, or Z. Then he wants ownership of the team that's drafted him. Are you kidding me? Don't beat Utah. By the way, Utah's beat them 2 years in a row. We're talking about Utah beating USC. Are you kidding me?
They're good.
I know Utah's good, but in what world should they have a better football program than USC?
They shouldn't, and they won't in the Big Ten, I think.
Of course they shouldn't. If you lose to Utah twice, Caleb Williams, that's horrible. You have no right. You should get your ass back out there and prove to everybody I want to play for my team and myself to show that I can win football games. Not to mention, if you have an NIL, can you imagine the NIL paying you and you saying, you know what? I lost 2 games. Thanks for the money. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's a flawed system. Don't hate the player, hate the game. The money's guaranteed. I mean, there's guys that are backups there that are getting paid and they never play a snap, and that's the NCAA's fault.
Holy shit, Gil, what were you samboning over the weekend?
Phillies victories, Eagles wins, man. Let's go.
Oh, drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh my God.
No, Mike, I agree with you, Mike. I don't get the whole sitting out thing. That's why I don't like when players talk and make these big bold statements and comments, because football is a team game and things go awry, and then all of a sudden you're eating your words. So he'll be fine, and he should ask for ownership of a team. He should, because he'll probably fall short on it and land somewhere in the middle and make a lot of money. So good for him. I like it. Brady should have got ownership in the Patriots. Like,
listen,
these cornerstone guys should get it.
Problem. We have accepted. Just sit out. Don't play. It's a business.
No, we haven't.
All right, listen. We give these kids the easy out, and they rarely listen. He might be an all-time great. But he sells short how many games and stuff. Maybe he doesn't reach it. It's come this. Money over accountability, money over team success, money always wins, and we lose. The game suffers.
I disagree. This is all clickbait. Just like people think the Eagles, this was going to be a close game with Miami, right? Like, this is the world.
I gave Miami too much credit. I had 31-27.
Everybody watches all the scores and the stats, and they're not really watching the games, right? Like, they're not really seeing the nitty gritty. They're seeing, 70-20. They're not really seeing like why it was 70-20, right? So that's where I get lost. Like when guys are like, Miami. People are in the parking lot. I got Miami. Sorry, guys. It's like, well, I love Miami. They're a great team. One of my good buddies I'm doing Sirius radio with is a fullback for him. But like, that's the world. We're like, we're giving all these players these breaks, and we're giving all these guys that. No, we're not. It's all just a week-to-week thing. It all goes away. It all comes right back to normal, just like the Phillies did this past week when, oh man, maybe the offense went away for a game, and then boom, back-to-back games, they explode. I just think we ride this wave, and it's like, it's not all what people are talking about on ESPN or whatever these great stations are is a glimpse of the moment. Like, literally, we're talking about the Niners being the greatest team on the face of the earth because they beat Dallas, whooped them. Then they went to Cleveland and they dropped the ball. Same with the Eagles.
Right.
They went to Jets.
They can quickly lose tonight against the 2-4 Vikings.
Yeah, so it's just
all of that I agree with, by the way, 100%. I'm the Mr. Hey, it's week to week. Nothing.
But you're saying blanket statements about accountability and money. That's not true. That's not true.
Well, I think it's just big picture because you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Nobody was like, Mahomes, leave early, Mahomes. And that guy did it the right way and has become an all-time great. Look at some of these guys that got overlooked. Aaron Rodgers, another guy. He was supposed to, and he falls in the draft, but he didn't say, hey, I got to leave early. I'm better than this. Leave early because
different times.
Timing, dude. That's all timing right there.
I understand that, but my point is he gets drafted number 1 overall. Maybe we see something between now and the end of the season when he plays in the games, not sits on the sideline, that says, you know what? I didn't see that from him the first 10 times I watched him play. Maybe he's not worthy of being. We're cutting the resume short, and we're only drafting you off the good times, not the bad. I want to see how you persevere through the bad times. And that's what I'm talking about. He gets drafted on the good times, not the bad. And maybe when he gets to the pros, it's not all good times. And how does he persevere through those bad times?
I'm lost, fellas. Honestly,
God. Transition to the Phillies. Give me back to my.
We're 9 minutes in, and I did not expect this conversation to start out the way it did. But look, quote of the day, quote of the night. If everybody could do it, everybody would do it. What's that quote entail? The push. Are you kidding me? The push. That's another Philadelphia Eagles first down, and we got 1st and 9 yards to go because that's all they need. Samboner, Colin, that's all they need. If they get to that 1 yard, 4th and 1, it's a guaranteed first down. How you like that, Mapples?
I love you pulling the quotes. Big J journalism from you. I love it. Listen. We've never seen this in game of football. We've never seen a play have success like this in the game of football. I've heard on NFL Network today from Kyle Brandt, 41 of 44 times, 93% of the time they're attempting that. And he said, too, I want to go back and see the 3 they didn't get it. It's a joke at this point. And it's infuriating and frustrating, as you could see how that leaned on Miami. I think Miami got a real dose of Philadelphia last night. When I watched the tape again today, you saw some stuff after the whistle. You saw some frustration. You saw the fans leaning on them. You saw the defensive line leaning on them. You saw Miami still make big plays. But again, that was an absolute city win, not a team win, a city win. The entire organization, the fans.
100%, man. Your hats off to Sean Desai, too, dude. Do not leave him hanging. That guy put together an unbelievable package last night. And
he's a definition of bend, don't break, right? And people hate that term because they're like, we want to blitz. And you're like, you got to get home with 4, which they did. And they're going to drop people in coverage, which they did. And good teams are going to have success. But, man, you're right, Mick. Hit the nail right on the head. Temple's finest, Sean Desai.
In addition to that, like, the Seattle, right? Seattle has that 12th man, right? They promote the 12th man.
Like, it's incredible.
I'm sorry, but like, is Lincoln Financial Field, Mike, and not only that, Citizens Bank Park too, like Philadelphia in general, is that becoming the toughest place to play in professional sports?
Well, I think the link and Philly has always kind of had that for football. Baseball, it is obviously new that it's been in the playoffs the last 2 years that has happened. You remember last year in the regular season, they're playing August baseball games in front of 15,000 people. It wasn't until they got to the playoffs that it started to rock. And I will say, I'll give the people credit because I did question whether that stadium would be full this summer, and it was. But it's not like that. That's the problem. June 27th on Wednesday night, you're not getting 40,000 people standing the whole game. True. Baseball for the playoffs is completely different. You watch a Phillies game, it draws you. You could be watching football, Monday Night Football tonight, and you watch the Phillies. Now, they're on at 5 o'clock, so that's kind of a weird time. But if they were on at the same time and you weren't a Phillies fan and you weren't a fan of any of the Monday night teams, you might say, man, this game on TBS has got me. Look at this crowd. It's crazy.
Right. I agree with you 100%. I was actually upset last night because I wanted to watch Game 6 of the AL.
Yeah, exactly. Football, it's harder to see that crowd's impact. You don't see the crowd as much unless they show the lady from San Diego Chargers 49 times in that game. They showed her yesterday all day long. Did you see that?
Yeah. And Saturday in college football, a lot of memes and all that stuff. And yeah. No, Mike, listen, I think, right, the Athletic came out, number 1 atmosphere in baseball, right, is the Phillies.
Yeah.
I think I played in Seattle. It's how the stadium's built is to force noise back inside. So that's extremely unique. I played in New Orleans. That's the most raucous place to play in the league, I think. Seattle would be 2. Philly would be 3.
Where was number 1?
New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
It's indoors. Hey, guys, it's
no, it's ruckus. The dome is ruckus. But
ruckus.
staying right along with just kind of the 12th man.
Yep.
Like, did those jerseys have anything to do with last night? And even furthermore, like, is it a crime that they got rid of them? That Kelly Green look? I mean, does it get any better than the
everything's business, right? So
I
now
know,
it's back better
why
than
on
ever,
God's earth did we ever get rid of the Kelly Greens?
Yeah, I think, listen, it's a great question, right? Does anything have to do with the jersey? I think the players love it it's really cool until like the football snapped, right? And then you're like, you're really not worried about what you're wearing.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think this, guys, and this isn't talked about enough, but it's a Philly like underdog, blue collar mentality. Eagles been good for 2 decades. 2 decades.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is to do? That's why the place is where it is. I think everyone says, and Mick brings this up, oh, Jets fans, I'm loyal. The Jets have been bad, man, for a long time. And it's been rough years, even their good years, which Sanchez and Gross, and Rex Ryan, it was a grind. Eagles, man, they beat the hell out of teams for 10 years, 20 years. They've had 3 head coaches that are like borderline Ring of Honor, Hall of Famers. All 3 of them are going to be up for the Eagles Ring of Honor and Hall of Famers. Like, people don't give enough credit to the team being good. And I'm someone who's played all around the league. What do you think the league thinks of the Eagles? But the Eagles fan just can't have nice things. And right. I love that. I love it. It's awesome.
I said for years, people hated Howie Roseman, right? They hated him. They hated the guy, hated him. I never was a Howie hater ever. I said, the guy has had back-to-back losing seasons one time in like 25 years. They've had, and like when they've had losing seasons, they're like 7-9. Now, every once in an outlier, blue moon, and the outlier seems to have the same formula. When Andy Reid's team went 4-12, their whole offensive line was they lost like 4 of 5 guys. When Peterson's team went 4-12 a couple years ago, they had offensive line problems all over. They had guys hurt all season long, but they bounced right back the next year and went 10-6. The line came back. Chip Kelly wasn't some genius. He got all 5 offensive linemen back, and that helped. So this organization has been, if you grow, I'm 46 years old. I have seen very, very few futile Eagles teams in my life. Think about that.
Guys, I was in Carolina for 3 years. 3. I think we won 12 games, maybe a little bit more. I mean, we had players complaining that we got booed after we lost the 6th straight game in a row. I'm like, in Philly, we would have got booed if we lost once.
You would have been booed in the second quarter.
Like, we got booed at Temple. We got booed at Temple versus Tulane. We went 3 and out back-to-back times, and Rule brought us to the 50-yard line and was like, listen to these sheep. Listen to this. Listen to these people. They don't care about you. So don't worry what do they have to say either. Like, that was like a pivoting moment. I got to Temple, and like the players like hated the fans.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
What's scary too is that this team, they haven't been together long. I mean, thanks to some veteran leadership at the defensive line, offensive line. But outside of that, like some of these core players like Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, they have not been playing together long. Like,
that's modern sports, though.
No, true. No, for sure.
Yeah, but what they do have
about the vets. There's some
what
great
they do have right is that core group of Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Guys who have been here together for 10 years. You don't see that either. So
and you got Jake Elliott too. Add Jake Elliott. He's been there a while. I know it's not a big deal kicker position, but he's consistent.
He was on the 17 team, so he was there for the Super Bowl. But that guys, Fletcher, Brandon, Lane, Jason, you don't have a team that has 2 guys on both sides of the ball that are still important that have played together for like 10 years.
Right, and then you have Jalen Carter, who is pretty much leaning on Cox as a mentor. He's the future of the NFL. That guy is an animal. He's an animal.
He's better than Fletcher. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Now Fletcher demands, I don't even know whether they're going to do it. They're going to have to make decisions here eventually, right? Like they're going to have to start sliding to Jalen instead of going to Brandon Grant. Like, and Hassan Reddick wrecked the game last night when he was in. Like,
Josh Sweat was ridiculous last night.
Ridiculous. He's a guy who's never talked about. Like,
right. Reddick too. Dude. Reddick, they all balled out, dude. It was an unbelievable
There's like 8 of them. I'm sitting taking notes this morning. I'm like, oh boy. Like, imagine going to play them. Guys, this Miami offense.
Jordan Davis was a beast last night. And he doesn't show up in the box score, but like he just takes up everybody. He's just such a massive human being. He takes up everybody.
Now, question for you, Mike. How big was that? Not big, but did that Jets loss kind of help this team?
I'm sure, I look at that all the time where these teams lose. You get a chance of reality to sit in the film room and then kind of get a tongue lashing of, hey, when you win a game, you did this wrong. We won. Who cares? But when you lose the game, you get a little dose of reality, and I'm sure this team kind of needed a big old tweak.
I'll say this and add to it. I felt it from the players last night on the Eagles team. Watching the tape again. Like when you watch the game and then you go back and watch it, I encourage fans to do it. Download NFL Plus. Watch the condensed version. It takes 40 minutes. I watch it every Monday morning. You feel it. You felt that. Great question, Mick.
I was going to first ask, did you have like a VHS tape? What is that again?
No, this isn't 1994. NFL Plus, you can get the condensed version of the game, but you can feel the players. They weren't, it was no BS. No BS. And Miami was getting pissed. They got pushed around against the Jets. They did. And that's what the Jets do.
Well, and the Jets are a more physical team than Miami. That's Miami's problem, is their physicality. They get beat up a little. And look, to be fair to both teams, the Jets are shorthanded. You're losing Howard and Ramsey on the outside. That's changing the dynamic of the game.
The Jets lost their top 2 corners too.
Absolutely. But
Goes
the
back
Jets
to
are more,
defensive line play, period.
the
And
Jets
that
are more physical up front than the Dolphins are.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the one thing too, and get back to Mick's point about Sean Desai, his mentor is Vic Fangio, who's a D coordinator for Miami Dolphins. Vic Fangio. So I was with Sean in Chicago when Vic was the defensive coordinator, 2014. 2017. I was on the practice squad. Sean Desai, he was the coach of the scout team offense. Me, dealing with me, giving him shit every day about Temple and where's the best cheesesteak in Philly and messing around. That's how I met Tom McCarthy in that same stint. And I'm with Sean. Sean was the assistant linebacker coach. And now he's here running this defense in Philly. And I think, listen, Sean's going to be up for some head coaching jobs. And the Eagles, again, back to Blue. Don't enjoy this ride. A lot of shiny toys here, and they're going to be around for a while.
Tell you what, Colin, speaking of best cheesesteak in Philly, cheesesteak month is completely off the rails. First and foremost, shout out to our sponsors, Original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge all over the country. You know the deal. If you're not buying fudge from the Original Fudge Kitchen at this point, you shouldn't be listening to this damn show. No, I'm just kidding. But, shout out to our good friends, Pete's Famous Pizza, 3 locations, all in the outskirts of Philadelphia. Pete and Gus doing an unbelievable job. In addition to that, Mustaki's Authentic Gyros. Oh, my God, I can't get off this Greek kick, and there's no reason to because it's a healthier option than the cheesesteak, but both of these guys continue to just crush it in life. Get out to Pete's, get out to Mustaki, get your Sambone on. Colin and I, and Jack in the back posted up in Doylestown, Pennsylvania over the weekend. We kicked off the weekend in grand fashion at Coach's Steaks, and let me just tell you, Bucks County, Pennsylvania is quickly becoming a big cheesesteak county. That didn't really come off that right, but it's becoming a huge cheesesteak county. Go ahead, Colin. What are your takes?
I mean, think about this. Portnoy, he always tips the cap to New York, right? New York City, of course. Pete's capital of the world. But what's the other one? Is it not? It's not Old Forge.
New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you. New Haven, Connecticut. He's like, that's it. So, yes, there's great pizza in New York City. It's the Philly cheesesteak capital of the world. But Mick, we may have to make a bold statement here and say the sister city, Bucks County, baby, the county.
Yeah, no, I mean, Delco has obviously made it splash. Chester County has made it splash. Westchester, PA. Dude, they just opened up a place, Steaks Westchester. They have America Pie. They have Lorenzo's. This guy, Dustin shout out Dustin on the shelf. He's taken MVP honors. Clear as day. He's got 3 or 4 Sambones under his belt, all in Westchester. But that's the beautiful part about Samboning. Post up in your backyard. Showcase these places, just like we did on Friday at Coach's.
That was awesome.
And, dude, I can't believe season 5 is going to come to a screeching halt here soon. And there's still 4 or 5 new joints out there that have yet to been hit. I got a lot of work cut out for me.
I had a cheesesteak on Saturday on my back porch.
Yeah, what, Blackstone action?
No, man, I went to Pete's down in EHT, man. Atlantic City bread, so much meat. My girlfriend actually had to take some out because it was just overwhelming amount of meat on there. I go mixed cheese, a little American and provolone, bang, plain. That's
provolone, huh?
Right there, yeah.
I provolone. Like mix. You can't go pro straight up. Not enough bite to it, but I like it.
Cheesesteak, plain, mixed cheese. The Atlantic City bread makes the same. Pete's in Egg Harbor.
Yeah, so similar to Pete's in Philly, it's the ideal cheesesteak because it's the perfect portion. A lot of these places, don't get me wrong, it's delicious. Berardi Brothers, Lucatelli's, they're unbelievable, but they're just unbearably too big. You really only need a quarter.
Change it. Don't change it.
I like mine.
We want to make it more easier to eat. No, we're Philly.
Hey, man, to each his own. Sometimes it's overpowering. That's all I'm saying.
Take it home.
Just for Pete out there, I like mine. My girlfriend thought it was a little too much, but that's all right for me. That said, you're going to a good cheesesteak joint, a good sandwich joint when it's just a man's first name. That's it.
I like it.
Or woman.
Where are you going?
Get back on track. Here, let's get back on track. All right, the motto of the month. Take a look, take a month, baby. Let's take October. We are moving right along. Last week I called it a week for the ages. We had 5 NLCS games and then a big Sunday night football game where the Eagles were showcasing the Kelly Greens. But we got to shift into tonight, fellas. This is game 6, back at home. The place is going to be absolutely electric. We got Aaron Nola on the hill. Like, look, Zach Wheeler is our ace, and he is quickly becoming one of the greatest athletes in Philadelphia right now, maybe a top 5. But Aaron Nola, is he getting the credit that he also deserves? Because this guy is right up there, man. I mean, he is pitching at all-time high level.
This is Aaron Nola is now the Sixers in the second round of the playoffs. Last year, he pitched well against the Cardinals. He pitched well against the Braves. But then he got to the championship series, and he did not pitch well against the Padres. He went to the World Series and was worse against the Astros. So, yes, he's there, but I only believe in you, they'll say, when I see you win this game. That's the one. This is the game tonight. You know, you're only as good as your last. Now, if he gives you a great game tonight, you look back at these playoffs, I would say this. The last time the Phillies won the World Series, Cole Hamels was the MVP of the CS and the World Series. Aaron Nola has a shot to do that, win the MVP of this series. Now, he has to one-up what Wheeler did the other day. But I love what Wheeler did, but I said on my show, I miss the pitcher who gives me 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, and hands the ball off and says, I beat you all by myself.
How many of those are left?
None.
In the whole league?
None.
Yeah.
Mike, you have a very realistic approach to analyzing these games. Help me understand, what was your gut feeling after we let game 4 slip away and had to go continue play another game in Arizona for game 5? What was your gut going into game 5?
I tweeted it out. I said, listen, you got Wheeler and Nola and Suarez in 2 games at home. You have to win this series. Otherwise, epic fail. They won 2 games that they had no business winning. They had to scratch and claw to win 2-1 in a game. Then they have to hit a epic home run, walk-off, not a walk-off, but just an epic home run to tie that game just to beat you twice. But you have your 2 studs still waiting in line and 2 home games. If they lose these 2 games at home, this is the biggest collapse, period. So I felt good about the 2 losses because of who I had. You look ahead. I got Wheeler and Nola. I have the better pitching. I have to win that. And then I have Suarez in game 7. They have Brandon Pfaadt would be lined up for 7. And I know he pitched well the last time, but can he beat you like that twice? Doubtful.
Mick, I want to know your thoughts here because you're always steering the ship. You're asking the questions. I want to know your thoughts going into tonight. What are you looking forward to? Talk about the start time, the impact, the home field advantage, coming off the Eagles win, right across the street now to the Phillies. What are your thoughts?
Good question, actually, coming off the Eagles win, because we happened to go. They had a game in Philly last Monday, and to be quite honest with you, the parking lot was quite awful quiet, honestly, like compared to a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. But granted, coming off a football Sunday, Monday night, it's tough to get those batteries charged up again. That said, though, Colin, like we talked about in the beginning of this episode, like there is just no greater atmosphere. And that 12th man, that electricity that just continues to get pumped into that building, like not like the Diamondbacks, who are actually pumping real sound into their stadium to make it sound like it was loud. Don't even get me started with that fan base. So it's the most bizarre thing ever. But coming back to Philly, game 6, Nola on the hill, all the momentum in the world. I would be quite dumbfounded if we somehow just kind of stumbled out of the block there and didn't take game 6 tonight, because I feel like the resiliency that this team showed after losing 2 straight in Arizona and just coming back and securing that 3rd win in game 5, Harper with the home run, Schwarber with the home run. Like this team is the real deal, man. They really are. They're the real deal.
Yeah, I'm excited for the game. I mean, this scheduling is amazing because of nothing's on football Sunday. You've been able to, like, Saturday night, we're making plans all day long down here where we're going to watch the game, how we're going to go about doing it. It's awesome for small businesses, bars and restaurants, bouncing around, having a good time.
Huge.
I mean,
it's amazing.
So, impact on retail is massive. My mom's in that industry, right? Like she's like, the people walking around Cape May wearing Philly stuff, like
everywhere.
It's chaos. It's so good. And it's amazing for especially this time of year, right? Like Flyers and Sixers could be good, but it's like the cold months. People aren't out and about as much. They're more at home. But right now, Birds and Phillies so big for the area?
Dude, great call. Honestly, I've been making my rounds. We're gearing up for this big event on November 5th, raising money for a great cause in the Ron McDowell House charity. Mike, hopefully you can make it out.
Let's go.
I've had a couple visits so far. I stopped out to Warwick Brewing up in Warwick, Pennsylvania. Hung out with Tim there, the owner. Tim does an unbelievable job. We talked about just what his business has done since the Phillies have been making this run, and he's got an unbelievable tasting house. He said every single night the Phillies are on, the tasting house is packed. Same goes with Luke and Bill over at Wissahickon Brewing. They're chiming in for the event. I hooked up with those guys for like a half hour, 45 minutes. He said, dude, I got 7 bartenders running. I got 5 food trucks in the back, and the back tasting room is absolute bananas. I've never seen anything like it in the history of having this place open, thanks to the Phillies. So it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
I was out.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was saying last year for the wild card, I was up in Philly at Other Half Brewing. Place was mobbed, packed, unbelievable till midnight. I mean, and they closed at midnight, and it was still like no one was leaving. This weekend, though, Friday night we went out to go watch the Phillies. Place was crowded. Saturday, same thing. We had to get there for the 8:00 game at 6:30 to try to get a seat. Every seat was taken already. People coming in. So it's strategic now. Where has the sound? The sound is so important, but getting there early enough to get good seats and everything, it's become like a weekend thing with these Phillies, and it's pretty cool. It is.
The sound doesn't bother me as much, but I'm not a Philly.
By the way, Colin Thompson, real fast, bought my girl the white pinstripe overalls. She wore them out to the game, to the bar on Saturday night. Did you see the pictures?
Very nice, Mike. It's a good touch. You're a good man.
I can see your wife getting away with it, Mike. I'm not sure you can get away. I can't get away. I'm not getting away with the overall.
I bought them for her.
The sound doesn't bother me much, but here's what does bother me. Grinds my gears, man. You're trying to bring business into your restaurant, and I get it. You're trying to have the boutique, quaint, nice feel of a good restaurant with no TVs. I get that. Get it. But if you're not going to be a fine dining restaurant, you need TVs. Because, again, this is like the 4th week in a row. We chose we moved from a place we were spending a lot of money with a big group of people to another place that's got TVs. It blows me away that some of these restaurants don't just have one. Just have 1 or 2. If you have a bar, just have 1 or 2. You can dim them down a little bit. They don't need to be no noise. It just drives me crazy. I want to bring that up. You talk about something that grinds your gears, Mike. That grinds my gears. You're taking a lot of money out of people's pockets, man.
You know my story from last year's Phillies World Series. I'm in Cape May. I will remain. The place will remain nameless. But I was in Cape May. I'm at having lunch. I texted Colin. I actually called him. Hadn't talked to him in a little while, and I said, "Yo, I'm in Cape May. Where do I go for the game?" He said, "Seaview."
Of course.
Well, we went to go to the Seaview. Now I'm staying at a hotel that had a shuttle. We got on the shuttle. I said, Seaview. This is like 6:00, okay? Phillies game's at 8:20. He goes, you ain't getting a seat in there. I said, it's 6:00, dude. I'll take you there. So he drops us off. He goes, I'm going to wait here because I have a feeling you're going to need me again. I walked into the Seaview. It was a sea of red from sea to shining, from stool to stool. I said, we can't hear. There was 4 of us. I said, there's no place for us. We couldn't go. Ended up going to 2 other places. TVs, poor, not on the game, blah, blah, blah. Ended up at a place that had the game on. 10:00 comes, the band started.
Carney.
They put the band on during the Phillies game.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's an easy.
Carney. No, I mean, listen, I get it. It's tough too, right? That happen to be Phillies playoffs. They probably have those guys scheduled for a month out.
I'm only going to a place where you feel like you're at the game. I went to game 4 at the Maple Glen Tavern, and it's just like this little hole in the wall. It's the greatest dive bar of all time. As a matter of fact, you can still smoke cigarettes in the back patio, which is very rare in this day and age. But like,
you out there ripping darts, Mick? You get a little.
No. We weren't ripping darts, but at the same time,
get a heater.
A couple buddies of mine posted up at the corner, and like you're just locked in to every pitch. The sound's pumping, and everybody's dialed in, and you just gotta love that, man.
Yeah, man.
Oh, it was great. You know, I took 4 or 5 shots of Jameson and 15 beers down the hatch. I'm not sure I'm dialed in the 9th inning. But you made it.
Yeah. You got to watch it. You're right, Mick, where you're with total strangers and they feel like you've hung out with them your whole life. That's the best part about watching.
It is, dude. It is, man.
and their girlfriends or their wives who you never met, and you feel like you're vacation friends with them now.
All right, so hold on, Mike. Let's not get off on a tangent here because I want to put a good closure on not only predictions for tonight, but like some outliers, like a situation where we go to the ninth, and tonight, and the game's tied 4-4. What's the story with Kimbrel, man? Are we still going to lean on him, or is he out?
I've been out on Kimbrel since the All-Star break. Listen. I didn't like the signing.
Wow.
I didn't like the signing. He exceeded my expectations tenfold. When they signed him, I was like, "What are they doing?" He exceeded my expectations tenfold. But the signs were starting late in the year. The Dodgers left him off the playoff roster last year. Okay, he had a good year in LA last year, but they saw what I kept seeing. Lack of command. He wasn't blowing saves, but the command issue is a problem. I'll tell you what, Mick, it's a great question because I don't know how Rob Thompson's going to dance around it because here's the question. Who does he go to? If not Kimbrel, is he going to put all his faith in the ninth inning and Jeff Hoffman, a guy who was on a plane to go pitch in Japan a couple months ago?
Dude, he's been steady, man. I think he deserves the eighth inning.
He's been great, but I'm saying, well, let's say Alvarado pitches the eighth because they got a couple lefties up the bat. And now the ninth inning is open. Now, I guess Alvarado can go 2, but how many times are you going to ask Alvarado to pitch 2 innings in a game? He's pitched multiple innings in a game, I think 5 times in these playoffs, by the way.
That's the thing. Go ahead, Colin.
You got to go. It's time. It's all hands on deck, man. Empty the clip. Empty the clip.
If they win tonight, they don't play till Friday. So I would imagine. Here's a disappointing thing for me, guys. I really believe Kerkering was going to come in and be like K-Rod was in 2002, where he had never pitched, came into the playoffs. It was like their 8th inning man. They gave him the chance the other night, and unfortunately, he didn't live up to it. I don't think it's all his fault, and I think he could bounce back, but I don't know that they're going to give him another chance because he was the guy that I think they could have said, hey, if Kimbrel's struggling, let's give this kid a shot. And they went to him. And
I'm so sick of the people out there that thought that he like killed the momentum of that game 4. Like he came in, he let up some runs, but at the end of the day, he got out of it. He let up 1 run. We still got in, we still got past it, and the score was 5-3. Like I think you continue to throw that kid in there, Kerkering.
I agree. I would go back to him. I think the other night, Real Muto just kept calling slider after slider. It was obvious his slider was just not, he could not command it. The kid still throws 98 miles an hour. Let's see if he could spot a fastball. And he just kept throwing slider. I would go to him again, but maybe not in the 9th inning. But
I also thought in game 5, my brother brought it up too. I was thinking the same thing. I talked to my dad about it yesterday at my daughter's soccer game. We were up 6-1 in game 5, was it? They should have brought in Lorenzen. They should have gave him some reps. Maybe kind of like a little bit of spark right there.
On Thursday night, yeah. I mean, on Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
You had a big enough lead. Like, why not start to get some of these guys that – I mean, because he had so much upside after his first 2 starts, and then unfortunately he fell off. But
we're talking about the bank tonight, baby. Buzzing. It's gonna be buzzing. I can't wait, man.
My buddy calls me. I'm on my way to the studio to record this fine show, and my buddy says, "Yo, I got an extra ticket for the game tonight. You in?"
Yep.
I was like, "Yo, I have a freaking job, man." I'm on.
Bring it down here. Do the. Oh, you should have planned it.
I'm picking my Ocean.
How about this? Talk about dad of the year right here, fellas. I'm picking my 13-year-old son up at 2:30, and we're heading down.
Well, I have my show is live at the Gallery Sportsbook at Ocean today. The fine people that have my show there every Monday, so I could not let them down and not be there. So I'm going to be there watching the game.
I love it, man. I can't wait. Man. These are great episodes. This is a great time to have Mike on because Mike has a lot of wheelhouses, but 2 of them happy to be the Phillies and the Eagles, and it's always great conversation between us 3. It's an interesting time. I can't wait for the Samboner event. Temple plays Navy the day before at the link, which sucks for the Eagles and whoever's and the Cowboys because that grass gets destroyed.
Oh wow!
I'll
be in Annapolis November 18th.
Yeah,
I feel like the link holds up pretty good. They just had like a big international soccer game down there.
It looked bad last night. I actually said the grass looks bad last night.
Yeah, Trey Burton told me, he said, dude, we would look at the schedule and they would have an event. They would show us when Temple was playing the day before and how beat up the grass was. So, yeah, that's the little things, right? The cool stuff in there. But that's a beauty that Jeffrey Lurie lets it still be grass, because he could easily be like, oh, we're going turf.
Yeah.
And you'll lose you lose players that way. Trust me.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's 10:27. Mike's got big things ahead. We gotta let him get to his next meeting. But this has always been a ton of fun, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Samboner Nation alive and well. We got a beautiful, beautiful game on tap for tonight. 5:07, Game 6. Let's take care of it. And then just like that, we'll be back in the World Series come Friday night. Who's that going to be? Texas or Houston?
I'm pulling for Houston because Phillies get home field advantage against the Astros.
That's right.
My wife's from Houston
too, because I want redemption and I want home field. So
I love it, Mickey. My wife's from Houston, so it's a tough one. The Houston. She's like, I've never really seen you become like a Philly fan. I'm like, this is it. The Flyers and Phillies are my teams.
Yeah, man. Big thank you to all our sponsors. Big thank you to everybody contributing for the event. Looking forward to that. Always fun with you fellas. Everybody keep on Samboning, baby. Have yourself a good day.
Yeah, lastly, guys, though, if you're coming to the Samboner event, shoot Mick a DM. Let Mick know. If you're listening to this right now, reach out to Mick. Let the Samboners know you're coming. You could show up too. God bless. We hope you show up. But just let Mick know, man. We're excited to see everybody and appreciate the support of the Ronald McDonald House.
Cheers.
Samboner out.
Samboner out.
Pop that Sambone, and baby, it's on. Dropping